Qué onda, amigos de Informe Púrpura? ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Están leyendo miércoles Púrpura, es martes, pero pues es una edición especial porque tenemos un gran invitado especial. Muchísimas gracias primero que nada por estar aquí con nosotros. Aquí me encuentro con Marcelo y con nuestro gran invitado especial. Está actualmente en Chicago y es una de las páginas más importantes de todo Vikings, que pues realmente da muchísima información. Él es Justin de The Purple Persuation. Antes de pues saludarlo y todo, aclarar que pues esto va a ser la mayoría en inglés. Voy a hacer mi mayor esfuerzo para medio traducir y pues que todos entiendan esta parte. Si tienen también preguntas para Justin, para Marcelo, siéntanse en la libertad de pues mandárnoslas y pues, nosotros la contestamos. Antes de pasar con Justin, Marcelo, ¿cómo estás? Buenas noches. ¿Todo bien?
¿Cómo estás, Pablo? Todo perfecto. Muy buenas noches. Gracias otra vez a Justin por estar aquí con nosotros. Con un programa en vivo más, ¿no?
Sí, uno más. Así que ahora sí, perdón, te interrumpí. ¿Qué vas a decir?
No. Adelante.
No. Va, pues darle la introducción a Justin. Para ustedes, si no saben, Justin, The Purple Persuasion en Twitter, es una de las páginas más importantes. De verdad, ha hecho una super chambota, un gran trabajo para traernos la información del momento y de muchísimas fuentes. De verdad, si ustedes tienen la oportunidad, síganlo. Insisto, voy a andar medio pues, traduciendo un poquito. Justin, how are you? First of all, thank you for being here with us. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Es un placer. It's a pleasure for us to have you here. And first of all, to just thank the hard work you have put in the Purple Persuasion. You're a very, very, very important fan page for Vikings fans all over the world, not only in the US, but you have also noticed that also the Spanish fans, and also I think that the Brazilian fans are very fan of your work. So thank you very much for being here with us and for the work you have put on the Purple Persuasion.
Yeah, thank you so much. Gracias. It's a pleasure. We enjoy it. We're all Vikings fans. We're here, trying to give everybody that they can all the content Vikings related. So we appreciate all countries, languages, countries, and things. So appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Ok, pues Justin nos acaba de dar las gracias por la introducción. Justin, primera pregunta, first question. What was your main focus of doing the Purple Persuasion? ¿Cuál fue el principal enfoque para hacer the Purple Persuasion?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think our main goal is just to spark discussion and have honest reporting. So what we put out here on the Purple Persuasion is verified to a T. We're not perfect. We make some small mistakes here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, what we report is accurate from some valid source. We do have some kind of inside sources from ourselves, but in the grand scheme of things, we just love discussion. And, we all don't agree on everything. We have different visions and how we approach what the Vikings want to do. But in the grand scheme of things, it's discussion. I think if I had to pin one word on it, is kind of the focal point of the Purple Persuasion.
Ok, pues Justin nos comenta un poquito que el principal objetivo de la página pues es tener diferentes puntos de vista, diferentes opiniones e informar a todos, ¿no? Sobre la actualidad de los Vikings. Marcelo, pues también hemos sido parte, ¿no? También de otros invitadazos aquí. Le comentaba a Justin de Luke Brown, de Tyler Furness. La verdad también pues es importantísimo el trabajo que hace Justin, ¿no?
Sí, y básicamente pues decir que mucho del contenido que generamos nosotros en Informe Púrpura es gracias al contenido que nosotros consumimos de Estados Unidos, de Minnesota, como el de Justin y el demás creadores de contenido. I just say that all the content that we made at Informe Púrpura, it's related or based in other content that pages like yours or Luke Brown or other guys made with base in US is the content that we take to share with the Spanish people, ¿no?
Okay, Justin, there are so many pages of Vikings information. Bikes Insider is one of them.
Yeah.
Vikings fan page have been also in the mix. How do you decide to make a fan page and to compete with those fan pages that many people tend to follow? Are very popular, and then you are making such great content that start to compete with them, and mainly being these mainly source in this Vikings off season. ¿Cómo es que has competido con estas páginas importantes, ¿no? de información de los Vikings en Estados Unidos?
Yeah, and nobody's ever asked us that before. That's a good one. It's we all have our own content. We all have our own niches of what we specialize in on content. It's for us. It's getting valid to a T, to a source. We give it to you straight, all in one page, full quotes. We also pin wherever we get our sources from, wherever we get our content or quote from. We always link it to the full read because, there is context to a lot of, quotes and how people report things. And it's hard with a tweet because you only have so many characters and, you're not going to put a whole essay up there and people just, their attention spans can't handle it. But if they are interested, we always link it. They can read the full background, the full context. But I think that's kind of what kind of differentiates us as TPP from the others as VI and Vikings fan page. And they do great work too. I've talked to both of them pretty not frequently, but we've chatted before, and we all respect each other's work. And I think that's what's awesome about being a Vikings fan and putting out Vikings content.
Ok, Justin nos comenta más o menos que cada página tiene como su estilo, cada página tiene su enfoque, y pues la verdad es que él se enfoca también en dar un contenido muy auténtico, ¿no? Que básicamente nos comenta que es poner, dar 100% el crédito, ¿no? Poner el quote al 100 y simplemente pues a pesar de que tiene contacto con estas páginas, realmente pues cada quien, ¿no? Está en su parte, y creo que también eso es importante, Marcelo, ¿no? Nosotros también tenemos páginas hermanas en español que hablan, algunas de México, algunas de España, pero es importantísimo, ¿no? Tener esta buena relación entre páginas, ¿no?
Sí, inclusive, como bien lo dice Justin, hacer mención a la página de donde sacas tu contenido, ¿no? O sea, como nosotros o como Justin, pues realmente nosotros no estamos dentro de la institución. Las noticias y todo lo que llega a través de reporteros que tienen el acceso y pues es de donde tienes que mencionar la fuente, ¿no? Para saber qué tan confiable es o no lo que estás comentando.
I was wondering, Justin, you told me a few minutes ago that you are from Chicago. I was wondering why being a Vikings fan.
I'm actually from Minnesota. I actually I wasn't. I'm kind of like a Midwest mutt in the U.S. is what they call it. But I spent most of my life in Minnesota. Bemidji, for those Vikings fans that live in Minnesota are familiar with it. Very small town, northern Minnesota. That's where kind of the homeland for me. And I fell in love with the purple, and that's kind of what the work and life as I got older brought me to Chicago. But if I had to choose, I wouldn't want to be here if I had to. But different circumstances and things like that brought me here, but Minnesota's home for me.
Ok, le pregunté a Justin, ¿no? Él nos dijo que era o que reside ahorita mismo en Chicago. Le pregunté por qué es fan de los Vikings y ahorita nos aclaró un poquito que él es del estado de Minnesota y pues evidentemente pues es fanático del equipo y ha estado acompañándolos desde siempre. Adentrándonos un poquito más a este tema del off-season, just entering now to the off-season thematic, Justin, what were you expecting from the free agency? Because we were like blind, we didn't know if Kirk Cousins was supposed to go. We didn't know what was supposed to be the contract with Daniel Hunter. We knew this off-season was a very important one, What were you thinking? Because you also posted a lot of off-season plans, if I can call it like that.
Yeah.
So what were you expecting from the Vikings? Because you recently posted that the Vikings were pretty high on Christian Wilkins. So maybe you you thought that the Vikings were going to sign him. So what were you expecting, Justin? ¿Qué esperabas de esta agencia libre de los Vikings, que realmente, esta agencia libre, de este offseason, perdón, de los Vikings, que realmente pues es muy importante, ¿no? Justin, por ejemplo, estuvo haciendo algunos tipos de planes de los Vikings muy completos y ustedes le dieron la chance de leerlos. Pero ¿qué esperabas tú, Justin, de este offseason?
Yeah, it's what was I expecting? And there's some things that you just kind of can, there's a saying in America, you can read the forest through the trees, kind of an analogy there. But I really do think that Kirk was gone from day one. I do believe that I think their, maybe their plan A was to bring him back and maybe help the rookie out, coach him, all that kind of stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, I think the Vikings knew that Kirk wasn't going to accept that deal and he was going to get paid elsewhere, which he did in Atlanta, which best luck to him until he plays the Vikings next year. But I kind of felt that was going to happen. I do believe that this franchise, it was the right time. It was the right move to, shift, from Kirk Cousins and, go with that rookie quarterback. So that's something that I thought from day one that would probably happen. But there's smoke and steam from all different sides, and they're trying to play their sides to get the best leverage that they can. But regarding Christian Wilkins, I knew they were very interested in him. Played with Flores, one of his draft picks when he was the head coach there. I kind of thought they maybe make a move for him, and it sounds like they did, but not at the price. Kwesi's shown that he's not he'll spend when he wants to spend, and I do believe he's going to do that when, to move up in the draft and get that top 5 pick for a quarterback. And but for Christian Wilkins, the Vikings were never going to go to that, price point to land him. So that's kind of how I feel about that situation.
Ok, Justin nos comenta un poquito que él sí esperaba que Cousins no regresara al equipo y pues además nos comenta también que se sabía, ¿no?, del interés de Christian Wilkins, un interés mutuo más bien entre los Vikings y Wilkins. Wilkins estuvo con Brian Flores durante algún tiempo en Miami, así que bueno, se esperaba eso, pero también los Raiders llegaron y le dieron una oferta pues irrechazable para él. Hace unos minutos salió esa información, ¿no?, que los Vikings realmente esperaban pues llegar a un acuerdo con Christian Wilkins, no se pudo, pero bueno, ese es como lo que esperaba. Sabía perfectamente que este era un offseason de cambio para el equipo y que Adolfo Mensah pues iba a hacer lo suficiente, ¿no, Marcelo?
No, y sobre todo que pues sí está muy consciente del precio que está dispuesto a pagar por cada uno de los movimientos que va a hacer, ¿no? O sea, y eso es súper importante. El no sobrepagar y tener bien definido un plan, sobre todo cuando ves el contrato que se le da a Cousins, sabes que es algo que hubiera sido muy molesto que lo hubiera tomado Minnesota, ¿no?
Sí, claro. Ok, Justin, you were expecting Daniel to leave?
To find the time point for it, because once they didn't trade him at the trade deadline last offseason, so I thought maybe that kind of was a signal that they keep him, because there was reports that they were offered a second round, but I think Danielle Hunter had a no trade clause when he did his he redid his deal, and there was some recent reports as of like the last couple of weeks where they did say that he was going to veto any trade. He wanted to stay in Minnesota. And at that time, the Vikings were kind of in this weird situation. Josh Dobbs, we all had that Dobbs mania kind of feeling going on. But as the free agency period went on, he's always, he took a team-friendly deal, and, he was really high up in sacks. So I did think that after kind of digging around and reading a lot of different things, that the Vikings were never going to go to that price point. It's kind of the same thing with Christian Wilkins, same as Kirk Cousins. They have a cap. Kwesi's here. We'll pay you this, but we're not going a cent above it. Holds firm. And as free agency went on, and that first day, I think he signed on day 2 late. But after that, I kind of figured he was gone. And what the reports were saying that he was going to get about 25 plus million, and he got close to that. So.
Sorry, my camera moved, but what Justin said is, o lo que dijo Justin, perdón, fue que realmente pues depende, ¿no? del tiempo en el que preguntes eso, ¿no? Porque pues refiriéndonos un poquito al tema de
Daniel Hunter.
De Daniel Hunter, más bien, exacto. Le pregunté de eso, te esperaba si se quedaba o no. Nos comenta que pues también viene al juego el tema de cambiarlo durante la temporada. Los Vikings inician
Cuando llega
mal.
Josh Dobbs, ¿no? Es lo que dice, y al
Cuando llega
final no
Josh
se
Dobbs.
da. Y es cuando te das cuenta que pues sí tiene un precio el que está dispuesto a pagar, y pues que con Daniel no iba a suceder. Pues sí, es como lo que hablábamos en el show en vivo, ¿no? Cuando hablamos de estos movimientos, que es un jugador que no sé si nunca le agradó o nunca le llenó el ojo o nunca le iban a dar ese contrato que esperaba en Minnesota. Entonces pues al final iba a terminar saliendo ya fuera esta temporada, o pues básicamente esta temporada fue cuando ya se dio.
Sí, exacto. Justin, we have been through a pretty good change in Minnesota the last 3 to 4 years. You know, from the Zimmer years, we were seeing the same defense. I don't know, Daniel Hunter, Berson Griffin, Kendricks, Barr, Rose,
Harrison,
Smith. Yeah, we have been dealing with so many changes from the 2021 to the 2022 season, and now we are getting a lot of changes again. Jonathan Greenard, Blake Cashman, Van Ginkel, Jerry Tillery are joining the team.
Yeah.
Do you expect this defense to be as good as it was last year when Brian Flores did essentially made a new scheme for these guys to work? Do you expect this kind of defense to make a leap again?
Yeah, I think they're going to make another leap again. Flores has always strived himself on of kind of getting the most out of all players. It doesn't matter their star level or, they think they're a depth player or a backup. He brings the most out of all the players. And I think that showed a lot last year. We had several players that had all, pretty much career highs. And even Daniel Hunter is one of them, where he had his best season of his career. Bynum played excellent. Harrison Smith was great up, maybe they kind of tailed off towards the end there. But I do believe Flores is going to get the most out of our defense. And I think he's got his second off season. He's really gotten to dial in on what he wants for his scheme. He wants flexibility. Van Ginkel, I'm really excited. He's one of my favorite signings of this offseason for the free agency. He can play inside linebacker. He can play outside linebacker. He can rush the passer, and he can, stop the run. He can go out in coverage if needed. So he's one of my favorites, and Grenard's a stud. I think he's up and coming, and I think Kwesi's timed that pick perfect with, a star player coming off their rookie deal, and I'm really excited to see what Flores is going to do with this defense.
Le preguntó Pablo acerca de la defensa de los vikingos, de los cambios que había tenido desde la era Zimmer, los jugadores que han ido cambiando, y si pensaba que con las adiciones de Greenard, de Van Ginkel y de los jugadores que llegaron en agencia libre, Brian Flores podría hacerlo de nuevo. Y pues comenta que tal cual sí piensa que lo pueda volver a hacer, ¿no, Pablo?
Sí, exacto.
Que espera que Brian Flores pueda sacar el máximo de estos jugadores con los que ya tuvo contacto en Miami.
Sí, y más que nada tomando en cuenta que esta defensa ha estado en constante cambio, ¿no? Que hemos visto tanto cambios de esquema, pasar de un esquema Fangio a un esquema completamente diferente de blitz y de cover y de cobertura personal. Realmente pues ha sido muy difícil. Es curioso, ¿no? The only player left from the Mike Zimmer era is like Harrison Smith, Cameron Bynum, Josh Metellus, and I don't know if you have anyone, but we are really...
Garrett Bradbury's still there.
Oh, yeah. On offense, yeah, like Bradbury.
Yeah.
But defensively, this team have been changing a lot. And I don't know if you expect any other signing in free agent, big signing, because we have seen like signings of, I don't know if I am pronouncing well, Camu Grugier Hill, Jihad Ward, John Williams.
Yeah.
So, le pregunto a Justin un poquito de si espera otra firma importante a nivel defensivo ahorita en la agencia libre. Justin, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think at this point, you did pronounce those correctly, though. So
Okay, thank you.
Props to that. But yeah, at this point, it's probably mostly depth players. A lot of the top free agency signings are that wave is over, and kind of KOC kind of hinted at that in his interview today on KFan, that it's a lot of the teams are shifting their focus to the draft and what they want to do with their picks and kind of building that type of plan. But if the Vikings do sign people, it's going to be, I don't expect anything big. I actually kind of would be kind of shocked if they signed, another. They probably will sign one player, but if they sign more than 2 or 3, I'd be pretty shocked about that. I think at this point, the teams are focusing on the draft. Whatever they don't land and what they don't get in the draft, and they're going to go and get those players to fill all the remaining holes going into training camp in the offseason.
Pues lo que nos dice Justin es que básicamente los equipos ya ahorita se están enfocando hacia el draft, que realmente estas firmas que se dan antes del draft son jugadores de profundidad o jugadores que posiblemente no van a tener mucho que ver en el equipo. Vamos a pasar a leer algunos comentarios. We're gonna read a little some of the comments. Miguel dice, ¿qué tal amigos? Un gusto verlos. Antonio is asking you a question about the draft. What do you think about the 2024 quarterback class? Do you see J.J. McCarthy could be the best option, or what would you do if you have the opportunity to select on picks 11 and 23?
That's a good question. At the TPP, we're huge J.J. McCarthy fans, if that's not pretty obvious. I think he's completely underrated from a grand perspective from fans, it seems like, but I think the coaches, the executives of teams, they're all starting to figure it out, and it's no coincidence that he moved a lot on the American sports odds of being drafted second, not even fourth or fifth or sixth, etc. Given where he was projected, 2 months from now, or 2 months in the past from now. But I like J.J. McCarthy. I think he's a great fit for what Kevin O'Connell wants to do. I think Drake May is an excellent fit as well. And even I think the sleeper of them all has kind of been under the radar, but I like Jaden Daniels a lot. And the Washington, the Commanders are probably going to draft him at pick 2. But if the Vikings have a shot within striking distance to get him, and the Commanders are willing to trade up, I think that they could do that. And that'd be pretty exciting, I think, for kind of an underrated, perspective of that, of drafting a quarterback that nobody even thought of because everybody's focused on May or McCarthy. But if they do move if they decide to keep their picks at 11 and 23, there's a defensive tackle, Byron Murphy Jr. out of Texas. There's reports that the Vikings, that's their plan B. I don't know. It seems more like plan C or D at this point. But if they can't get their quarterback, because it does take 2 to tango to get up there, I would expect them to, get a high defensive tackle at 11, and then maybe they take a flyer on Bo Nix or even Michael Penix Jr. I think Penix Jr. kind of fits what Kevin O'Connell wants to do a little bit more. But, today he said he wanted accuracy, and that's not necessarily Penix Jr.'s forte. So I think they're going to play both those cards. If they have to, they can't just say we're going up or moving up, because it's going to show all their cards. I think it's a long shot that they keep both their picks and go, draft at 11 and 23. I think they're going to make the move up into the top 5. Very confident about that.
Ok, pues básicamente lo que nos dice Justin es que es muy fan en general de J.J. McCarthy, que es una gran opción para los Vikings, para lo que O'Connell quiere hacer hoy en día en los Vikings. Además de que también menciona a Jaden Daniels, el quarterback de LSU, que puede llegar a ser también un quarterback interesante para lo que también los Vikings quieran correr, solo que también pues es bastante factible, ¿no, Marcelo? Que se lo lleve Washington en el número 2. Eso es lo que se habla hasta ahorita. Aunque pues también para la segunda pregunta que se le hizo a Justin, si se quedaran con los picks 11 y 23, pues realmente habla sobre Byron Murphy, el tackle defensivo de Texas, y también de pues la posibilidad de llevarse a Bo Nix o a Michael Penix, ¿no? Como plan C, D o E, inclusive.
Sí, pareciera lejana ese escenario, más dándose el tema del trade con Arizona, ¿no? Ahora que tienes con los Tejanos, y tienes ahora dos selecciones de primera ronda, es casi un hecho que vas a ir por quarterback, y te da esa ventaja, ¿no? Esa ventaja de tener 2 selecciones de primera ronda este año para poder enfrentarlo, ya sea si algún otro equipo se te quiere adelantar de los que necesita quarterback, pero yo creo también como Justin que van a ir por quarterback cualquiera de los 4. Obviamente dejando fuera a Caleb Williams que va a ir con Chicago. Los otros 3 parecieran ahí un volado. Más ahora en la asamblea esta de dueños y entrenadores y todo, ya ves que se están dando noticias como que los Commanders posiblemente puedan ir por J.J. McCarthy, que los Patriotas están abiertos a negociar y que pues todas esas cosas que se dan en estas reuniones, ¿no?
Sí, efectivamente. Gracias por tu pregunta, Toño. Justin, are you afraid of the Commanders taking J.J. McCarthy based on the information that was released earlier today?
That's a good question. That's kind of the talk of the Vikings fan base right now. I'm not real worried about it. I do think that Cliff Kingsbury, who's the offensive coordinator there for the Washington, his best fit is Jaden Daniels, and in my perspective, and a lot of experts' perspective, that he's the number 2 quarterback in this draft behind Caleb Williams. So I think it's, maybe they're trying to leverage their card. Maybe the Vikings have acquired with that pick, and they're saying we're taking JJ, and the Vikings really want him, so they're maybe trying to squeeze as much draft capital out of the Vikings as they can. And the Vikings are, I wouldn't say they're desperate, but they kind of somewhat are. So teams are going to milk them for, a little extra picks, here and there. Probably definitely not like a first rounder, but that 4th rounder probably is something that could be squeezed up if you're definitely getting into that. If you're getting to the top 2 perspective, you got to consider at least for sure 3 and maybe even four first rounders. So I think that's to answer the question, I think it's probably not going to happen. I think they're going to go Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't worry about it.
Ok, yo le pregunto si tiene algún tipo de temor de que los Commanders puedan llegar a tomar a J.J. McCarthy con la selección global número 2, pero él nos comenta, ¿no? Pues que básicamente no cree eso, que cree que Jaden Daniels es un quarterback para la ofensiva que quiere correr Cliff Kingsbury allá en Washington, así que pues básicamente pues sería una pantalla de humo, ¿no, Marcelo? Antes de adentrarnos 100% a tema draft, no sé si te gustaría hacerle alguna pregunta en específico a Justin, Marcelo, no sé, tema de la ofensa, de Sam Darnold, de Aaron Jones.
Sí, bueno, específicamente, Justin, what do you think about the Aaron Jones incorporation to the team? Do you like him as our RB1? What do you think of his role in O'Connell's offense for the next year?
Yeah, he's 100% RB1 to answer that question. And even today, was today or yesterday? I've read a lot of stuff the last couple of days, but definitely Aaron Jones. I think Kevin O'Connell even said in one of his pressers with a K-fan or through another media outlet that he was jumping in excitement, running down TCO hallways of how excited he was to land Aaron Jones, and even said he'd drive up to Wisconsin, which is not too far from Minneapolis, to go pick him up from Green Bay. So I think he's really excited about it. Aaron Jones is he's very, very good, very underrated in the grand scheme of things, but he can do it all. He can run block, he can pass block. He can't run block because he's a running back, but sorry about that. He can definitely pass block. He could catch the ball. He can run. He averages over 5 yards a carry. So he's a good fit, and I think KOC's really excited about it. I think it's Ty Chandler is definitely going to be the backup going into the season, but expect them to split reps, throughout all the weeks.
It's definitely an improve for the past running department, no? The Mattison experiment or the Mattison era didn't work as we expect. So it's definitely an improve in the running department.
Yeah, I think it kind of is a tell. I think they rolled with Dalvin Cook as Kevin O'Connell's first year. Cook did great. The running game was a little down compared to years past, but that was kind of more Zimmer's scheme and what he wanted to run. But then they decided to go cheaper at the running back position, given what Dalvin was going to owe in 2020, going into the 2023 season. They went with Madison. Definitely did not live up to the expectation, I think, from a statistics perspective, as well as kind of the visual eye test, like watching him. He wasn't a good fit. They brought in Josh Oliver, the tight end, to help with the run blocking. And I think they've tried to address it in a lot of different ways, but I think finally KLC sees that they need a more versatile back that can do it all. And I think that's why they went out and spent that cash to go get him.
Sí, Marcelo le preguntó básicamente a Justin de qué opina sobre la incorporación de Aaron Jones, ex corredor de los Packers. Y pues básicamente Justin dice que pues viene a ser obviamente el corredor número 1 en este equipo. Ty Chandler vendría siendo obviamente el sustituto o un back más o menos de complemento. Y también obviamente, ¿no? Es una gran mejora sobre lo que se tenía con Mattison, que realmente pues no es o no fue lo que esperábamos. Así que pues Aaron Jones es un back muy completo, puede bloquear, puede correr todavía muy bien el balón. Recuerden esos últimos 4 partidos de la temporada pasada contra Nueva York, contra San Francisco, contra los mismos Packers, contra los Cowboys, perdón. Una gran seguidilla de partidos, una gran incorporación a Aaron Jones. Antes, ahora sí, de centrarnos en el draft, before getting fully to the 2024 NFL Draft, ¿cuál es tu expectativa sobre la incorporación de Sam Darnold? ¿Podrá correr el sistema de O'Connell? What are your expectations from the Sam Darnold incorporation to the Vikings? Can he run the O'Connell system?
Yeah, I think he can run the system. It's kind of Shanahan based. I think Darnold. I think people think about him. They think of his Jets. His time in New York or even North Carolina with the Panthers, and I think Sam Darnold can run the system. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if he had his best best season of his career. He's got a lot of weapons on offense with Justin Jefferson, Addison, TJ Hawkinson eventually at some point. A decent O-line compared to years past. So I think any quarterback that comes in is going to be functional. I think we saw, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, they all came in at various points last season, and they did well. The Vikings won 7 games, and Kirk missed over half the season. So I think if we have to see, I do think Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, they don't want to start a rookie if they don't have to. But if the rookie shows that they're ready to go, I think they will start them. But we probably can expect to see Sam Darnold for at least a brief period. As of right now, a lot of things can change, and how they pick up the playbook and training camp and things like that. But if we have to see Darnold for a few games or even all of the season, I think we're going to be better than a lot of people think. So those betting on that 6.5 wins for the Vikings for this season, I think you got to take that over on that and hammer that.
Ok, básicamente lo que nos dice Justin es que pues Darnold sí puede correr el sistema sin ningún tipo de problema, y un muy buen punto, ¿no, Marcelo? La temporada pasada con Mullens, incluso con Hall en el partido en Atlanta, más que nada Dobbs contra Nueva Orleans, se vieron bien por momentos, ¿no? Digo, Dobbs se cayó, Hall no se vio nada bien ahí en Navidad contra los Packers, pero al final de cuentas Mullens, por XY razón, tuvo sus intercepciones, pero también se vio bien, así que eso es un buen punto, ¿no? Al final Darnold llega a un equipo con Addison, posiblemente Hawkinson regresando por ahí de septiembre, octubre, no sé, igual y puede entrar un receptor en el draft, pero bueno, llega un equipo talentoso, ¿no? Darius O'Neal protegiéndolo, Aaron Jones, o sea, no llega un equipo recién armado, llega un equipo ya hecho con un gran coach, ¿no? Corriendo esta ofensiva.
Exactamente, es lo que te iba a complementar, el tema de O'Connell y cómo hace sencillo o hace bien la preparación dependiendo de las habilidades o los skills que tiene cada quarterback, ¿no? O sea, eso arma un ambiente muy favorable para cada uno de ellos, ¿no? Lo demostró plenamente en la temporada pasada, cambiando de plan de juego, de estilo, 3 veces en 6 semanas, 7 semanas. Entonces, creo que vamos a poder ver algo muy bueno de Darnold con esta ofensiva. No esperamos que sea lo que se esperaba de él como primera ronda, pero podrá manejar y podrá llevar al equipo a buen puerto los juegos que tenga.
Esperemos que sí. Ahora, Justin, te quería hacer esta pregunta. I wanted to ask you this question, but I know your answer. What are your expectations from the possible trade the Vikings could do? Would you prefer getting I don't know, at 3, at 4, at 5, May, McCarthy, Daniels. What are your preference of the quarterback? Obviously, knowing that you are a very good fan of McCarthy, but
Yeah.
what are your preference for the Vikings quarterback? Because from our standpoint at Informe Púrpura, we expect that Drake May is like the perfect fit for the Connell offense, but McCarthy is not like a long shot to being a very good pick. ¿Cuáles son tus expectativas sobre los quarterbacks? Sabemos, ¿no?, que May puede ser un gran fit para esta ofensa de Kevin O'Connell, pero bueno, ¿qué es lo que esperas de este ciclo de quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with, I think any of the top 4 quarterbacks. I think we can probably throw Caleb Williams out just because he's going to the Bears. Pick one. But I think McCarthy, May, Daniels are all going to thrive in this offense. I do think that a lot of people think that, Jaden Daniels doesn't quite fit because he's more of a runner, can go off script. But even Kevin O'Connell today said on KFan that he's not like that. He can be a pocket passer. He can execute, go through his reads, and if nothing's there, he takes off. And he's got the fastest speed. He's probably the most athletic of the 3 quarterbacks that we've talked about. So I just do think he's a long shot, though. I would love him to be on the team. He's kind of my favorite. I just don't think about it as a realistic opportunity for the Vikings, given that I think the Commanders go them. And if somehow the Commanders pass on him, the Patriots are going to take him at pick 3. But between May and McCarthy, they're both great. They're both going to fit well. They both probably need a little bit of time to acclimate to the NFL and understand Kevin O'Connell's complex offensive system. I think May is probably a little bit more ready right now, but I think the upside of McCarthy in the future is he's got a lot of potential, a lot of untapped potential. And, like with any pick and any quarterback, it could be a great pick, like the next Patrick Mahomes, or he's the next, Johnny Manziel out of the league here in a couple of years. So it's a wild card, but I do think they're going to make their move for one of those top guys. And I lean May and McCarthy are probably your favorites there.
Ya, bueno, lo que nos dice básicamente, ¿no?, es que los 3 son muy buenas opciones. Sin embargo, pues también May es el que puede tener un poquito más de potencial. Todos, la verdad, son muy buenas opciones. Al final de cuentas, él nos comenta, ¿no?, que también él cree que los Vikings van a subir posiciones para el draft, que creo que es bastante obvio, ¿no? Marcelo, al final de cuentas, por algo fuiste por esa selección con Houston, por algo vas a hacer el trade-up. Ya es el momento, ¿no? Justin, talking about the past, the rumor about Anthony Richardson, from last year's draft, would you be in favor? If you could change the past, would you be in favor of trading up for him instead of picking up Addison, Blackmon, etc., Worth? Would you be, if you were Adolfo Mensa from the 2023 NFL draft, would you be able to trade up for Anthony Richardson, knowing that he is maybe has a very good potential in this league?
Yeah, he reminds me of what kind of Jaden Daniels can be. I think Jaden Daniels is a little bit better passer than Anthony Richardson is from like a completion accuracy perspective. Richardson's got a little bit bigger arm, I think. But if we're going to go back in time, I think getting from, I don't remember the exact spot we were in last season. It was somewhere in the mid-20s to move up to get to where Anthony Richardson was drafted. I think you're giving up way too much capital for somebody that was still raw to a lot of draft insiders and analysts. So I think just giving up too much to get to that spot wasn't worth it. But they did inquire, and I'm sure they definitely had Kwesi and his team had his eyes on him, and I think that kind of is a signal to this year. I think they're not gun shy. They're not going to be afraid to make the move. They've said multiple times that if they find the right quarterback, they'll give up as many assets as they can to get that quarterback. But I think, they say that, but in the grand scheme, you do have to weigh how much you're giving up for how much you're going to get from a guy. And, what's the drop off between Jaden Daniels and McCarthy? Is it a lot? Is it a first round pick, 2 picks, to fix other spots in your team? I don't necessarily have the answer that they think, but, they're asking those same questions from them. But that's kind of how I would, hindsight's 2020. I think they made the right choice, sticking with what their picks they had last year. And I think they know they had their sights set on 2024 and the quarterbacks in this draft.
Sí, básicamente lo que le pregunté fue si él tuviera la oportunidad de subir el año pasado por Anthony Richardson, que si ustedes no saben, los Vikings sí tenían ese interés por subir por 20 y tantas selecciones para seleccionar a Anthony Richardson, que fue seleccionado por los Colts hace un año. Él nos comenta pues también que posiblemente Richardson se compara con lo que hoy es Jaden Daniels, ¿no? Un quarterback que terminó subiendo muchas posiciones conforme fue pasando el proceso draft, pero que pues al final también los Vikings posiblemente sabían, ¿no? De que les iba a costar mucho, que tenían a un buen receptor en Addison y que también pues podían tener sus miras fijas hacia 2024, ¿no? Que esta clase tiene muy buenos nombres, ¿no? Marcelo, al final de cuentas, se pusieron en una buena posición, ¿no? En seleccionar un quarterback de una buena clase.
Exactamente, como bien decía Justin, no es lo mismo bajar del 22, 23 al 4 que hacerlo del 11, ¿no? Y si se te presenta esta oportunidad con una buena camada de quarterbacks que viene este año, o que se supone es una buena camada, pues qué mejor, ¿no? Se juntó como la tormenta perfecta. O sea, estás en una buena posición con la selección 11, ahora con la 11 y la 23, para poder ir por el quarterback, ¿no? Y es mucho más redituable y oportuna la decisión de seleccionar a Addison el año pasado.
Claro, mira, ahora, Marcelo, a mí me gustaría hacer una pregunta que también me gustaría que tú la respondieras. Se la voy a hacer primero a Justin. Justin, what's your dream scenario for this 2024 NFL draft? Maybe trading up to 5 to get McCarthy and maybe keeping up the first from the 2025 NFL draft. Maybe going up to 3 for Drake May. What's your dream scenario for this 2024 NFL draft that seems to be the most important draft in, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years?
Yeah. I mean, no quarterback in Vikings history has been drafted in the top 10. Dante Culpepper, if you guys know him, was the closest at pick 11 in franchise history. So this is a big moment for Vikings history and the franchise and for us as fans. So I think in the grand scheme, you have to trust what the team knows and what they see. You know, we all have our own preferences, but, you know, we all don't sit there and grind tape. We don't have the full knowledge of what it takes to be an NFL coach and quarterbacks coach and things like that. You know, we all want to think that we know better than what they know, but if we were, then we'd all be coaches, you know, in the NFL. But if I had a dream scenario, I really like Jaden Daniels. I think he would bring so much dynamic to this team. But like I said earlier, I think it's a long shot, so I don't really cling to it too much. So I do think J.J. McCarthy is probably my number 2. Maybe not even number 2. It's probably a 1A, 1B type feel there. And I think J.J. McCarthy just really hypes his fan base up. And I think he's got a lot of untapped potential. Could be there, might not be there. But if they swung up there and got him at pick 4 or 5, I'd be really ecstatic with it.
Ok, le pregunté a Justin y también ahorita le pregunto a Marcelo cuál es su escenario de ensueño para este draft. Nos comenta, ¿no?, que a él le gusta mucho Daniels, también le gusta mucho, como ya mencionó, McCarthy. No es de que sea el primero o el segundo, más bien es una situación de 1A y 1B. Así que, pues ese sería como su escenario ideal, ¿no? Tener a cualquiera de esos dos. Cree que también McCarthy es un jugador con muchísimo potencial que aún no conocemos. Marcelo, rapidísimo, ¿cuál es ahora sí tu escenario favorito, tu principal escenario?
Justamente hoy leí una opción bastante interesante en X, que decía o hablaba de un potencial trade con los Cardinals por la 4ª selección y darles la primera ronda del 25 por la 26,
27 global de 27 overall pick.
Ajá, la 27 que tienen este año y poder tener la posibilidad de seleccionar a tu quarterback, que podría ser McCarthy o May, cualquiera de los dos que caería en ese spot, en el 4, y reforzar a la defensa o a tu equipo defensivo con uno de los buenos jugadores defensivos que hay este año, ¿no? Creo que ese escenario es ideal. No sé qué tan realista o posible sea, pero sí me sonó bastante interesante. Te quitas la posibilidad de tener una selección el año que entra, pero armas tu equipo fuerte desde este año.
Y sabes qué, paréntesis también, Si ustedes se acuerdan, Dante Culpepper seleccionó 11 global en el draft de 2000, Central Florida, hace ya muchísimos años. También le pregunté si este es un momento importante para la franquicia y nos comentó, pues obviamente, ¿no? Por la gravedad de esta selección, pero sí, Marcelo esa es una gran opción. Creo que lo puso Tyler Furnace
Exacto.
hace unas horas. What Marcelo said, Justin, is the option that Tyler's put on X. The Cardinals giving up the 27th overall pick in this year's draft for the 23-11 and next year's first. So that's also a pretty good scenario, but it's difficult for the Cardinals to give up the 27th overall pick, giving up already number 3, right?
Yeah, I saw that tweet. That's something I hadn't really thought of too much, but it is, I guess, realistic. So I think it involved sending us our picks, but we would get that 27, the Cardinals' 27th pick in the draft. So we technically would still have 2 first rounders. They're just spread out a little bit further. And they land JJ McCarthy in that situation. Man, that'd be a dream come true, I think. And then we could, pick probably the best defensive player, whether it's a cornerback or a defensive lineman of some sort or an edge guy. At 27, I don't know if it's realistic, but I think the charts say it's pretty much accurate. But these teams, they know you're going for a quarterback. They don't give in, and I think the Cardinals got 3 first rounders currently right now, or at least 3 in the top 40 picks. So if they landed us, they have 4 in the top 40, which would be pretty insane for a team. And they have to value whether they want Marvin Harrison Jr. or they want draft picks. And that GM over there, he's got a big decision to make, because I do think the Vikings have what it takes to get to 4, and I think the Cardinals understand what it takes and they're open to it too. So we'll see how these next couple weeks play out. If they want Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr., they want those 4 picks in the top 40.
Sí, básicamente lo que nos comenta Justin es que puede ser que no sea un escenario como muy realista, ¿no? Por lo que piden los equipos para subir por un quarterback tan alto, pero sería un escenario importante, ¿no? Seleccionar ahí al mejor jugador disponible, no sé, se me viene ahorita el nombre T'Vondre Sweat también de Texas, Johnny Newton de Illinois, puede ser algún liniero defensivo por ese rango, finales de primera ronda, sí sería un gran escenario, pero pues puede que no sea lo más realista posible. Ya para terminar, ahora sí, mis últimas 2 preguntas, no sé si tú tengas alguna otra, Marcelo. Una sí es acerca del draft, otra no. Just to finish this stream with the last 2 questions. One is from the draft, another is off topic.
Sure.
What's a hot take you have for this 2024 NFL draft? For the Vikings, obviously.
For the draft or for the Vikings the whole offseason?
The draft.
The draft? I honestly think they're going to give up a lot more than people think. I think people are expecting it's just going to be the 11 and 23. I think Kwesi and Kevin and the whole organization, even the Mark Wilf seemed really jittery, really excited, like they have something. I think they're going to spend a lot of assets to get their guy, and it's definitely going to be more than 11 and 23. Whether it's JJ McCarthy higher than people think, or they sweep everybody off their feet and land Jaden Daniels out of the blue, or I definitely wouldn't rule out May either too. There's a lot of history there with McCown and them. So I think the Vikings are going to, long story short, I think the Vikings are going to give a lot more than people think they're going to give up to get their pick and their quarterback.
Ok, sí, es importantísimo eso, ¿no, Marcelo? ¿Cuánto estás dispuesto a gastar? Nos dice Justin que él no cree que los Vikings vayan a gastar lo que se pronostica, que van a dar muchísimo más, tomando en cuenta muchos factores.
Que realmente, ¿no? La gente espera que sea solo la 11 y la 23, pero va a ser mucho más para ir por el objetivo, ¿no? El quarterback que les gusta, el quarterback por el que desean. Y pues ahora sí que, como todo valor o toda negociación, el éxito o lo caro o lo que gastas depende del resultado que tengas, ¿no? O sea, nunca va a ser pagar demasiado si le pegas a tu quarterback franquicia.
Sí, exactamente. Y ahora sí, ya para terminar con la última pregunta, last question, Justin, what's your favorite part of doing this great job at the Purple Persuasion? For us, it's like to being able to inform all the Spanish-speaking people here, because we don't have a lot of coverage. You may have there, the US, most importantly at the north of the country. But what's your favorite part of just communicating things to people?
Yeah, no, and like I said earlier, like to start the show, I will always respect what you guys do, giving credit where credit is due. One thing we pride ourselves here at the TPP and the Purple Persuasion. But yeah, it's for us, it's the content and seeing people's reaction and how they take things. So I think I don't know if you guys, feel this in Mexico at all or anything, but in America, everybody is like here or they're here. There's like no middle ground. We can't discuss anything. Everybody's pushing each other to the side. But one thing we pride ourselves on is giving people facts, the news, legit sources. Every once in a while, we'll give our own take too for people's opinion, but then just seeing what people take of it and how they engage in conversation. And it's hard to keep up with all the comments we get on each post, but we try to keep up as much as we can. And just seeing how people are interacting, mostly to a civil extent. You get the occasional one-off stuff, but just seeing different people's opinion of a different post or different writer, what they want for themselves. So that's something we really enjoy, is just seeing all the discussion of, one spot, one place, get all your Vikings news. Let's talk about it in a good way, and just enjoy seeing what people, what everybody's opinion is. Not my opinion is not correct. Their opinion might not be correct, but in the grand scheme of things, we're all Vikings fans. We have the same goal. We want to win a Super Bowl, and it's awesome to see that.
Sí, bueno, nos comenta básicamente Justin, ¿no? Que lo que más le gusta de estar o de hacer este gran trabajo que hacen The Purple Persuasion es básicamente, pues, dar datos, dar fuentes confiables, que al final esto termine siendo una gran fuente de comunicación para que los fans discutan, ¿no? Que al final nadie tiene la opinión verdadera, nadie tiene, pues, esa parte, ¿no? Cada quien tiene su opinión y es muy padre esa parte de agarrar y debatir con muchos fans y que también la gente tenga una fuente de noticias importantes, ¿no? Antes de que nos vayamos ahora sí, y confiable, y confiable. Marcelo, no te pregunté tu hot take. ¿Cuál sería tu hot take a un mes? Bueno, sí, un mes antes del 25 de abril de que empiece la primera ronda, ¿no? ¿Cuál es tu hot take?
Sí, yo creo que también creo que los Vikings van con todo por el jugador que, como bien lo decía Justin, por el jugador que quieren, y yo creo que va a ser con el pick 3, yo creo que va a ir más con el tema de los Patriotas que con los Cardenales.
Ok, entonces tú dices subir al 3 con los Patriots para seleccionar
a Drake May, yo creo.
Ok, pues bueno, sea Drake May, McCarthy, Daniels, pues lo sabremos en un mes, ¿no? Pero pues ya también es un poquito tarde para Justin, para nosotros también es martes púrpura en miércoles, o más bien miércoles púrpura en martes, ¿no? Así que bueno, de verdad muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, esperamos estar un poquito más seguido. Pablo y Denis no nos pudieron acompañar hoy, pero en verdad agradecemos mucho la presencia de Justin, la presencia aquí de Marcelo, de Toño, de Miguel, que estuvieron comentándonos. Recuerden, ¿no? Que durante este mes pues va a ser un poquito lento, ya no hay muchas noticias, entonces pues nos toca esperar a que empiece la primera ronda, que los Vikings hagan ese movimiento. Justin, thank you very much for being here. You are a very important part of what we are doing right now at Informe Púrpura. Thank you very much for being with us, and here at Informe Púrpura you have a home. You always have the door open, so thank you for being here. And where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, thank you so much again. Mucho respecto for you guys, what you guys do. Always respect what you guys have done from early on, and an early supporter too, before we were even a thing on Vikings Twitter. So thank you guys so much, and we appreciate it. But you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at TPP Skull. And if we're just starting to dabble into YouTube here a little bit, it's on the horizon, and you can find us on YouTube at The Purple Persuasion.
Ok, pues ya escucharon, en Twitter o X, como les quieran llamar, y Instagram lo pueden encontrar como TPP Skull, o pues ya recientemente están incursionando en el tema de YouTube, así que ya saben, a apoyar a The Purple Persuasion y a Justin. De verdad, si ustedes no lo siguen, deben de seguirlo si quieren así todas las noticias de las mejores fuentes hacia el momento. De verdad, ellos tienen absolutamente todo. no hay mejor página en este off-season, ¿no? Con tantas noticias, con tantos fichajes, con tantos cambios, con rumores, en especial en estas épocas, ¿no? Vienen, bueno, ya pasaron algunos Pro Days, así que, pues bueno, si quieren enterarse de todo, más que nada conferencias de prensa, si Kevin O'Connell habló en tal lado, de verdad, Justin tiene todo, así que síganlos en Twitter, en Instagram, en YouTube, apóyenlos muchísimo, así que bueno, de verdad, sin nada más que decir, muchísimas gracias. Justin, we can't say goodbye to you without you saying our motto, our great phrase here at Informe Púrpura, but in Spanish.
No, it's good.
We usually say, let me write it because I forgot to put it.
No,
But we say, see you in February, that in Spanish is, nos vemos en febrero. Let me put it for you here. Because Luke
yeah,
also said
my
that.
Spanish. I told you. Happy to do it though. Nos vemos febrero.
Febrero, yes, sir. Thank you very
Febrero,
much.
okay.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
We are so proud of what you have been doing, and we also send the best hopes for you in Instagram, in YouTube. So anything you need from us here in Mexico, you can always ask him. Okay.
Great, thank you so much, and likewise, we're happy to help and support you guys in any way we can, and we'll continue to give you guys love and feedback and support you guys need. So thank you guys so much for what you do and for the Spanish community. So like I said earlier, much respect.
Ok, pues bueno, ya ahí tienen las palabras de Justin. Muchísimas gracias ahora sí por estar, Marcelo. Muchas gracias, Justin. Pues nos estaremos viendo próximamente. Esperemos que el viernes Pablo y Denis puedan trabajar, ¿no? Después de sus vacaciones.
Que estén atentos ahí a las redes para saber cuándo nos vemos por aquí otra vez.
Usualmente Pablo y Denis pueden estar aquí los viernes, así que bueno, ya saben, síganos en Informe Púrpura. Aquí les dejamos nuestras redes sociales rapidísimo. Aquí pueden ver Twitter y Facebook, que es básicamente, y también YouTube, ¿no? Sí, nos pueden ahí apoyar. Pero bueno, gracias por estar aquí por nosotros y pues sigan apoyando a Justin, a nosotros y pues nada. Gracias amigos y pues nos estaremos viendo en la próxima.